Have you ever had that feeling, where your own mind seems to be playing tricks on you? Well, today we're going to dig into this really fascinating ancient Pali text that explains exactly how and why that happens. So let's start with a question. Is your mind a perfect mirror reflecting reality just as it is? Or is it maybe more like a mirage in the desert, creating these illusions that feel totally real but can lead you way off course? This ancient discourse suggests it's, well, pretty often the latter. Okay, so where does this whole mirage thing come from? In this first part, we're going to look at what the text calls the fundamental crack in the very lens that we see the world through. The source text gives this whole phenomenon a specific name, vipallasa. It's a Pali word, and it basically means a distortion or perversion of reality. And this isn't just one simple mistake. It happens on three totally different levels. First, our basic perception, what's called sanya, then our thinking and our state of mind, or chitta, and finally our deep-seated beliefs, our ditti. So yeah, it's a complete top-to-bottom misreading of our world. Now that we've got a handle on what vipallasa is, the text breaks it down into four primary ways our minds get things wrong. These are what you could call the four great distortions that shape our experience. Let's start with one that pretty much everyone can relate to. So, the first great distortion is seeing what is impermanent as if it were permanent. The Pali phrase for this is anicce nichanti sanya, and it really points to this deep-seated habit our minds have. We just crave stability in a world that is, by its very nature, always changing. And here you can see the core conflict, right? We project this illusion of permanence onto a reality that's actually transient. We try to grab onto things like they're solid rock, when in reality, they're a lot more like mist just passing right through our fingers. Think about it like this. You know that incredible feeling you get on a perfect day, or the joy of a brand new relationship. The mind just instinctively clings to it, thinking, this is it, this is gonna last. But the nature of that moment, of course, is to pass. And this distortion is what sets us up for disappointment every time. The second distortion is just as common, seeing what is inherently unsatisfying, or dukkha, as a source of true, lasting satisfaction, or sukha. We are constantly, and I mean constantly, chasing things we believe will finally make us happy for good. This shows the mismatch perfectly. We run after experiences, hoping for this deep, lasting satisfaction, but what the text is saying is that those very experiences, by their nature, just can't deliver. They're either stressful in themselves, or they simply can't offer any real, lasting contentment. A perfect modern example is the grind culture, right? We might chase a super stressful, high-pressure career, telling ourselves that the money, the status, the achievement, that's what will finally bring us satisfaction. But so often, the process itself is just filled with stress and anxiety, the literal opposite of what we were looking for in the first place. Okay, so this third one gets a little deeper. Anatta-tani sanya. This is the distortion of seeing a self in what is actually not self. We build this solid, unchanging identity, an I or a me, out of things that are totally impersonal and constantly changing. So the illusion is that we are this fixed, independent person. But the reality described here is that we're much more like a process, like a flowing river of thoughts, feelings, and sensations, none of which really make up a permanent core self. Have you ever felt this? Someone makes fun of the phone you use, or the car you drive, or your favorite team, and it feels like a personal insult. That's this distortion right there in action. We've identified ourself with some external thing, so when someone attacks the thing, it feels like they're attacking us. And the final distortion, asubhe subhanti sanya, this is perceiving what is unattractive, or let's say impure, as attractive and pure. The text points to our tendency to just get completely captivated by surface-level appearances without seeing the true nature of things underneath. The illusion is this glittering, attractive surface, but the text encourages us to take a deeper look, to see the components and the impermanent, not-so-lustrous nature that's hiding beneath that initial shine. It's not about being morbid or negative, it's just about seeing the whole picture. I mean, we see this everywhere in our culture. The obsession with perfect looks, anti-aging, flawless images online. This distortion is about getting so caught up in that shiny surface that we totally neglect the health and well-being of the actual person underneath it all. So, if those are the four big ways we get things wrong, is there a way to get them right? Absolutely. And the text lays out a really clear path to basically correcting our vision. And the antidotes are actually beautifully simple. The solution is just to flip each distortion on its head, to consciously work on seeing the impermanent as impermanent, to recognize the unsatisfactory for what it is, to see not self in what is not self, and the unattractive in the unattractive. The key point here is this: clarity is the cure. But what happens if we don't correct our vision? I mean, what's the real cost of living in this distorted reality? Well, the text is very, very clear that the stakes are incredibly high. This verse is really powerful. It says that those who are overcome by these distortions are yoked to the harness of Mara, and Mara here kind of represents delusion or the forces of confusion. It says they're trapped in samsara, which is this endless, stressful cycle of birth and death, basically because their wrong views keep them running in circles. But the text doesn't just leave us there in despair. It offers a path to freedom. It starts with hearing the true teaching, like what we're exploring right now. This allows you to regain your clarity and a balanced mind, which helps you see reality as it truly is: impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self. And by cultivating this clear seeing, the text says you can actually overcome all suffering. So let's bring all this together. What is the key takeaway from this ancient discourse on distortion? What's the bottom line? It all boils down to these four fundamental misperceptions that create a world of illusion and stress. By just identifying them, by learning to see them in our own day-to-day experience, we start the process of untangling our minds and seeing the world with a startling new kind of clarity. And that leaves us with a final question for you to think about. Based on everything we've just explored, which of your own firmest beliefs about what happiness is, about who you are, about what's truly valuable, might just be a distortion worth taking a second look at?